Welcome to the Work Together podcast. This is episode 3. Ready to go. This is an exciting day for me because I love to talk about tech. It's what I do for a living. I love doing audio engineering. I love to edit videos. I love to edit audio. I love to just make sound and listen to it. Love to make music and do that as well. So doing recording of guitars and things like that as well. But let's get right into the tech. And there's going to be a PDF for you. This is another free tool. Feel free to take a look at it. It's just going through some basics of the tools you need to have ready for you when you are going to be networking virtually. So I have an outline that you can get on crazevr.com in the webpage. You can get that there if you go over to the Work Together podcast. And then also in there, you're going to have our second one, which is how to do virtual networking better tech guide, and that's going to be in there as well. So let's jump right into it. Last episode, we were talking about the Work Together podcast and doing a little bit about tech and webcams and things like that. So I'm going to jump in a little more detail and talk about webcams and what you should be using, in my opinion. And again, this is my opinion. I am not affiliated with any of this stuff as of right now. So this is strictly just what I want to bring to you. There's a bunch of different webcams that you can get out there. There's HP, there's Dell, there are Microsoft, I believe, sells some webcams as well, that you can go to any Office Depot or Best Buy and pick up some, or try to pick up some. When COVID first started, it was so hard to get webcams. A lot of my clients would come to me and be like, Mark, I really want to get a webcam. Can you get me one? I'm just like, no, man. They're sold out, and you couldn't get them anywhere. It was crazy. So now you can always use your webcam on your laptop. So the reason a lot of my clients were coming and saying, Mark, I need to get a webcam. What one do you recommend? Can you purchase one for me and then ship it over? The reason that I didn't just say, hey, use your laptop webcam is because of the quality. It's so, not only are you taxing your computer already with the whatever networking software that you're using on that platform, but then having to do the video as well. A lot of the webcams out there take away that draw from your computer, which is really helpful. Now, if you don't have a fancy webcam, I have a free tool that I have discovered for you to use, and it's called iRune Webcam. That's right, iRune Webcam, and it is spelled IRIUN Webcam. And what it does is it downloads software onto your computer, and then as long as you're over the same network, you want to download the app onto your phone, and it uses your phone as the webcam. You can also use the audio on your phone, but I don't recommend that usually. I recommend a separate audio. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But so right now, this is I'm actually using on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm actually using my phone as my webcam. It's pretty great. As long as the network is pretty solid, you can actually not have a lot of lag between the phone and your laptop to do the recording. So I think it's pretty sweet. I use it for any meetings in GoToMeeting or Zoom or any platforms like that. Let's talk about headphones. Now, the reason I don't recommend using your laptop's microphone and listening to the conversations on your laptop are a few reasons. Number one, you'll get better audio of your voice. Number two, you're not going to get a lot of room noise if you're using a separate microphone and headphones. Most laptops or computers nowadays have Bluetooth on there. And so the Bluetooth is connecting to your earphones and going back and forth on that. Usually not a lot of lag on there, but I have noticed a little bit. If you're on your phone, of course, doing whatever networking host you're using, you can always hook to your Bluetooth and you're able to listen in your ears. If someone walks in the room, you're not going to hear a lot of background noise because of the microphone that's on there. So that is a great tool to use. There are other ones out there that are, I want to say knockoffs, but they work really well, surprisingly enough. And there's a lot of great ones out there. Or you could get an entirely separate microphone setup. I'm using my podcast mic, which is a Shure SM57B through a Rodecaster Pro. You don't need all this. You do not need all this to do a great networking call. You can do that and still have quality with just doing ears with a microphone on it. Please do that. It gives whoever you're talking to great ear quality, especially if they're going to record it and play back later. They don't want to have all that distracting room sounds of noise bouncing off of walls or a train coming by or anything like that in the conversation. So that's just a basic overview of the headphones and microphones. So now we're going to dig into the virtual backgrounds and what your background should look like. So have a basic setup of, I'm here in my office actually, and a basic setup. I have some cool things behind me. I have a Mandalorian little Yoda dude back there. Guru, I think is his name, and he's a little blurred out to be less distracting. So I like using an actual background than a virtual background. The reason for that is I started using virtual backgrounds because I thought they were awesome. I actually have a virtual background that shows my logo and things like that I use once in a while in networking conferences or networking chats, things like that. But I like to use actual real background because when you're moving around, it suddenly you can tell it's a virtual background. Like you start moving around and you don't actually have a green screen behind you. The video starts to get a little glitchy behind you, and that sometimes can be distracting. It's not the end of the world. Now, I do recommend that you can either do a blank wall, but you don't have, like, you're sitting in a living room. Make sure the light is not behind you. If you're standing in front of a window, no one can see your face because you're all dark and that window just shines out. Try not to ever sit in front of a window. So if you're going to sit at a window, make sure that the window is is in front of you and not behind you. So that's the best way to position yourself if there is a window. I usually only like to have light in certain areas so I can control the lighting a little better. People like to see your smiling face, and it just makes it a little more real, a little more comfortable, makes them feel like they want to stay there a little bit longer and talk to you and be less distracted about that as well. So also, if you're going to have a virtual background, is there a point to the virtual background? Is it just randomness? You're in space is kind of weird. Are you in an office? So you're having an office conversation. So that kind of makes sense. Are you, but if you're a contractor and you're at the beach background, doesn't really make sense for what you're doing, right? So think about that before you choose your virtual background. And if your office is what your background is going to be, like mine, is it clean? Do you have folders and files sitting everywhere? If you have a bookshelf behind you, is it organized? Is there a point to it? Is it just random stuff on there? One of my networking groups has a rubber chicken, which is awesome actually, because we actually have conversations about that rubber chicken and people know when it's missing. So is there something that you have that's your standard background that they expect to see, and they know you so well at the end of your conversations, they're like, what happened to that thing that was behind you, right? Does that make sense? If you want a blurry background, let me give you a free tip on there. It's called XSplit, and that's what I'm currently using right now to have a blurry background, and so it's really awesome. It's not free if you want to have a watermark on it. You have to pay for it if you do not want the watermark on there, but you can use your webcam and turn up the blurriness. Now, you can't use your phone and do it because they have a phone app to connect directly to your phone for that. But you can't blur the background. So I actually am using the iRune app in order to do that through the XSplit into the OBS to blur the background. A lot of technical terms. If you have any questions about that, you can feel free to contact me and we'll set up a consult. Last but not least, let's talk a little bit about taking notes and being prepared for your networking meeting, right? So there's a lot of different note-taking things I like to do. OneNote is great. The reason I like OneNote is because you can actually transcribe the entire meeting as you're talking on OneNote. So that's a great tool to use if you're going to be transcribing the meeting. If you have your calendar prepped and ready to go, which one do you use? Is it up? Is it ready to take notes or set meetings? Are you using something like Calendly to automatically send your link? So I've just started doing this where I have in the chat, when I put in all my information, I will automatically have a Calendly link in there to send for people to say, hey, I want your one-on-one, or I want to set up another meeting. Here you go. And just click that and they're automatically setting up another meeting with me. I did it today, actually, in a networking meeting, and I got 4 one-on-ones, boom, right there, just to talk about podcasting and how I can help people and consult with people about that. Because you don't need a lot of bells and whistles to do virtual networking. You really don't. Just come in prepared. Think of it as like a live networking event, right? You come in, your coffee's ready, you have all your pens and notepads ready for people. Your chair is in the right proper place and location. Same thing when you're virtual. You have your coffee ready. Your calendar is ready to go. Your pens and papers are out. You have your all your business cards ready to go. In other words, you have your link to automatically click on your website ready to go for the chat. These are things that if you're prepared, the faster your meeting will be. The more prepared you are for your meeting, the better you're going to look in your meeting, right? So that is an option. There is always another option to have someone and hire someone to set up your meeting and do the networking meeting for you, and therefore structure it and let you know when it's your turn to talk or someone else to talk. You could do that even with 2 people. You're like, I don't know, you've never met this person, so you have a third party come on and just do that for you. Those services are available out there, so you can always do that as well. So in review of this week, again, I want to just go through the tech guide real quick. We have the headphones and microphones are number 1. Webcams, are you going to be using them? Are you going to be using a separate webcam? Are you going to be using headphones that is separate from your laptop? Are you going to be using a virtual background? Is it going to be just a blurry background so it's not distracting? Or is your space clean before you start your networking meeting or your business meeting virtually? Are you taking notes? What are you going to take your notes on? Do you have your calendar ready to go? And things like that. I'm just here to give you tools to help you out and also put businesses in front of you that can help grow your business and change how your business interacts with the world. You can always find us on Facebook. You can also find us on crazevr.com. And we will talk to you later as we work together.